Hello from Staunton Harold in Leicestershire. Tonight, the death of a schoolgirl and the father who wants answers.
Amber Pete was missing for 3 days before she was found hanged. Now we learn there were concerns about her well-being a year before she died.
I'm fighting for Amber's voice. You know, as high as we've got to go, my wee girl's voice needs to be heard.
Just juice, or can it have real medical benefits?
I'm hoping that I've now created a hostile environment for cancer so that cancer cannot exist in my body. Who knows where would have been if I hadn't have took these steps.
And dig out your memorabilia for the people's history of pop.
The death of 13-year-old Amber Pete in Mansfield last year touched the hearts of people from around the country. She'd been missing for 3 days when her body was found hanged a mile from her home. Well, the police have ruled out anything suspicious, but Inside Out has discovered there were concerns about Amber's welfare more than a year before she died. And as Simon Hare reports, official records suggest it wasn't the first time she'd run away from home.
Fears are growing for a teenager who's gone missing after a row with her family.
Amber left with no money, no phone and no change of clothes. Her family say this is extremely unusual.
She'd normally be at home reading a book, wouldn't she, spending time with the family. So this is entirely out of character.
If you're watching this, or if anybody knows where she is, just send her home, please.
Just come home. Just let us know that you're safe, or anybody that knows anything. Just anything, just come home.
The body discovered in Mansfield last Tuesday evening, yesterday night, has been identified as that of missing teenager Amber Pete. The cause of death has been confirmed this afternoon as hanging.
When police discovered Amber's body, they quickly said it wasn't suspicious. It's thought she'd hanged herself. An inquest into her death was opened and is due to resume later. What could have led to such a tragic event? And was it really out of character for Amber to run away from home? Inverness in the Scottish Highlands, home to Amber's natural father, Adrian Cook, and his wife, Linda. They say they'd been asked to remain in Scotland while Amber was missing, in case she was making her way to them.
Maybe she was coming to find me. I just didn't know. But all I wanted to do was go down the road. But yeah, I had to make that choice. Do I stay or do I go? You just don't know what to do for the best. So I was just holding on to that one glimmer of hope that she's on her way north. She's on her way home to me.
What was that like, Linda, for you waiting? Were you all just waiting at home, hoping?
That's all we could do. Just hope. And she never turned up.
On the Tuesday, mid-tea time,
Yeah.
I got the phone call from a police officer saying, look, we've found the body.
Adrian helped to identify Amber's body.
Wee China doll she was. Oh. I was in shock. I just, to be honest, I called her a stupid wee girl. I said, why did you do it, Ollie? Well, I told her, I promised her I'd find out why she'd done it.
Why was also a question being asked by many back in Mansfield. The community had helped to search for Amber when she was missing. Now people wanted to know what could have led up to her death. Inside Out has seen some Derbyshire County Council records, which suggest concerns about Amber's well-being had been voiced over a year before she died. They detail 6 one-to-one counselling sessions she'd had with a youth worker while she was a pupil here at Tibshelf Community School in Derbyshire. It said that Amber had been displaying challenging behaviour, both at school and at home. School and support staff are reported to have voiced concerns that Amber had attachment issues and worries caused by the family moving home regularly. According to those records, in April 2014, Amber had told her youth worker that she had felt she was not even part of my family anymore. Everybody gets on with everybody else, except for me. And the records say that in June 2014, here at the school, teaching and youth support staff held what's called a Team Around the Family meeting to discuss Amber. All 5 professionals present are said to have voiced concerns that the family were due to move again, this time to Mansfield. And fears were expressed that Amber could effectively slip through the net and not get the help that she needed. The records say her youth worker in Derbyshire had told Amber that she'd be able to get support wherever she moved to. After the family had moved, school staff from Tibshelf are reported to have visited her new school, Queen Elizabeth's Academy in Mansfield, to pass on their concerns about Amber. Following Amber's death, the school paid this tribute.
Academically bright, she has been in the academy choir and has loved singing and dancing. Amber has been happy at the academy.
The schools and local authorities involved in her care have declined to comment while a serious case review is ongoing. Such reviews consider how organisations and professionals work together to protect the child and whether any lessons can be learnt. Amber's mother and stepfather also declined to take part in this programme. The council records suggest Amber had run away from home at least 4 times in the last 18 months of her life, and she'd been repeatedly warned by the youth worker about the dangers that posed. Police considered it out of character on the final time she went missing because in the past it had only been for a few hours. Amber's grandmother, Jenny Lancaster, hadn't seen her in over 3 years. Adrian's mother, she previously regularly cared for Amber at her home at Codnor in Derbyshire.
All the makeup used to come out, everything belonging on our art it came. You said, do we look nice? Is it pretty? Is it right? Have we done it right? And my nephew, he's does photography. And he used to come, and when they knew he was coming, that was it, finished. Put a camera in front of him, you had no chance. And it was used to take a load of photos of them, and they loved it, you know. That was one of his up there.
When you last saw her, was she running away then? Was it something she'd done?
No, she was just Amber. It really seemed so unreal that child could have been going through such misery.
Following Amber's death, members of the local community who'd helped in the search for her set up a new group. They're hoping Where There's Hope will become a charity to help in practical ways when other children go missing and to reach out to troubled youngsters.
It actually gave us something to leave the house for, a purpose to do something. She's helped us a lot.
But you want something to come out of this, don't you?
Yes, definitely. We want to make sure that all the children in the community and everything are looked after, and their well-being, if anything, that they know that somebody's there to talk to and we're there for them.
At Christmas, the group organised a special vigil in Mansfield, near to the spot Amber's body was discovered. Friends and family gathered to keep memories of her alive.
I know how much you miss me. I see the pain inside your heart. But I am not so far away. We really aren't apart. So have a Merry Christmas and wipe away that tear. Remember, I am spending Christmas with Jesus Cross this year.
Children shouldn't want to die, shouldn't want to be away from everybody who they know and everybody who they love. And she had so much to live for, she really did.
I'm fighting for Amber's voice. You know, as high as we've got to go, my wee girl's voice needs to be heard.
Simon Hare reporting, and that Serious Case Review is expected to report in the next few months. Still to come on tonight's programme, a snapshot of pop history from the people who'll never forget.
I was chosen to go to the Albert Hall, to be in the Rolling Stones van to guide them back to this party.
Now, it's a multi-million-pound business, but is it just a fad, or could it be seriously good for our health? As the latest must-have gadget, juices are being promoted as an easy way for us to get our 5 a day and counteract some of that processed food. But here in the East Midlands, some people are claiming that juicing fresh fruit and veg can do much more than that and can have real medical benefits. So what's the evidence, and does it stand up to scrutiny? Francis Finn investigates.
Juicing. The fans are evangelical.
I wish I could go back till the time before I had cancer and do all this. Who knows where would have been if I hadn't have took these steps.
I've had better skin, better eyesight, more energy, and just a greater appetite for life.
While the scientists are sceptical.
There is enormous amounts of confusion about what sort of foods we should be taking and what their benefits are. The evidence is very thin.
Juicing certainly has lots of positives, but I don't think it can ever replace standard treatments that are available for cancer patients.
So is it time for the NHS to look at the evidence? On a farm in Nottinghamshire, Lewis Winter takes a look at his crop.
Well, you can see that the storms we've recently had absolutely battered the brassicas here.
He says he's seeing a rise in the number of people buying his veg, particularly kale, for juicing.
Anything from your super sportsmen and women who want to obviously keep their bodies at peak performance through to the extremely poorly. People with suffering with IBS, people recovering from chemotherapy. They're finding this is a way to get a lot of nutrition, really good nutrition, straight into your system.
Lewis says he's seen a visible change in the health of some of his customers.
The ones who are markedly poorly, somewhat gaunt and wan when they come into our premises, over a matter of only a few weeks, you really do see a difference. If only that their eyes become brighter, their skin becomes cleaner, their hair is shinier. It's quite subtle to start with.
People believe that juicing doesn't just provide you with a health boost. They believe it could also help to save your life. Connell McNellis is from Derby. He was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer, which had spread to his brain.
They referred me to a clinical psychologist, to a hospice, just for some support, and basically to prepare me for what was about to happen. And I thought, I've got nothing to lose. I'm not going out like this. So I went out, bought myself a juicer, just bought loads of organic vegetables, just as much as I could physically drink. And my scans then following coming off the treatment remained clear, which was a bit of a surprise to everyone. And because we didn't know how aggressive the cancer was going to be at first, because they couldn't predict its next move. And so ever since then, following this, my quality of life, my energy levels have gone through the roof. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life, both physically and mentally. And I'm hoping that I've now created a hostile environment for cancer so that cancer cannot exist in my body. Who knows where would have been if I hadn't have took these steps.
So from being on the books of a hospice, Connell is now in remission. He sticks to a daily regime.
I get up every morning, I have my shot of wheatgrass, I have hot water and lemon, and then I have my juice all before I have breakfast, and that sets me up for the day. And that's basically giving my body everything that it needs, to function. Because your body's an amazing thing. If you just need to give it the tools, and hopefully, touch wood, the cancer can't come back.
So Connell believes that our own bodies have the ability to fight off disease if we give them the right kind of nutrients. Now, is there any science to back this up? Well, I'm hoping to get some answers here.
Nottingham's been at the centre of cancer research for more than 50 years. Now the John Van Geest Centre is leading the way in discovering the role our own immune system plays in fighting cancer. Dr. Stephanie McArdle says one thing it needs to fight disease is antioxidants, and there are plenty of those in some juices.
Antioxidants are extremely needed to counteract
free radicals that are caused by either burnt food, by even stress, which is then bad for you. So antioxidants counteract the free radicals.
And so can I get antioxidants if I were to start to juice and eat more fresh fruit and veg?
Yes, fresh fruit and vegetable will give you the antioxidant. I do believe that the research community should look more into the effect of the diet into the immune system, into combating cancer, in combination with conventional therapy.
Juicing fans say that even if you're sceptical about the role it can play in fighting cancer, there are plenty of other health benefits. Chrissy White from Derby is so convinced she set up a business giving advice on juicing and diet.
Oh, my health was terrible. I really had chronic fatigue, although it wasn't really called that in those days, and I didn't know what it was. I was just exhausted all the time.
And so you turned to juicing?
I did turn to juicing, yes, and it changed my life. Quite literally, it made a huge difference.
And for you, you do believe it counteracts the ageing process?
Oh, most definitely. I won't tell you I'm 106, but I am in my late 50s. And I've had better skin, better eyesight, more energy, and just a greater, again, appetite for life since I started to do regular juicing and eat more plant-based foods in their raw state.
There have been some experiments done looking at whether food can act as a kind of medicine for our bodies. So I'm off to London to meet a man who's taken part in a few.
Michael Mosley is a doctor and TV presenter. He's been looking at the effects of drinking beetroot juice.
Beetroot is a really interesting one because it's rich in nitrates, and it turns out that this is really good for example, expanding your arteries and therefore lowering your blood pressure. And there have been lots of studies which show that drinking a glass of beetroot juice will do that. And at the same time, because it's expanding your arteries, it will also increase your ability to do exercise. I think that food is utterly critical to our health, our future, and things like that. The trouble is, there is enormous amounts of confusion about what sort of foods we should be taking and what their benefits are. There is huge confusion in the public, and frankly, there is huge confusion in the medical and nutritional community as well.
Do you think that it is time to look into proper trials of particular diets, nutrient combinations?
I think it is. I mean, when I went to medical school, there was almost nothing on nutrition that we were taught. We were taught about some of the more exotic diseases and the diseases of deprivation, but nothing really about, you know, the balance of food and what it does. So I think there is a very interesting area. The trouble is, it's full of frauds and charlatans. There are enormous amounts of claims made about, you know, I drank berry juice for weeks and my cancer disappeared. The evidence is very thin.
So it does seem as if the NHS is a way off prescribing particular diets instead of pills. Dr Srinivasan Madhusudan specialises in cancer treatment at Nottingham City Hospital.
Chemotherapy and other treatments are here to stay. As an oncologist, I know that patients who maintain a good nutritional health, they tolerate chemotherapy much better, and their overall outcome is likely to be much better. So juicing certainly has lots of positives, but I don't think it can ever replace standard treatments that are available for cancer patients.
So is it time the NHS got serious about using food as medicine and launched a proper scientific study?
Such trials take a lot of years, enormous amount of work, and huge amount of resources. You're talking about $500 million that is required before an experimental treatment becomes a standard treatment for cancer patients.
But is that not worth it in the long term?
Probably is worth an investment, but we need to make a decision as a society. The Department of Health needs to fund this kind of research, and perhaps in a few years' time, we would be able to recommend these as alternative or add-on treatments to our cancer patients.
So experts haven't ruled out the benefits of juicing as a tool to staying healthy. And if prevention is better than a cure, perhaps it is time to dust off that juicer.
Francis Finn with some food for thought there. Now, you may have noticed that the BBC is asking you to scour your cupboards, the loft, the garage, anywhere really, for pop memorabilia like ticket stubs, autographs, photos and even rare footage. It's for a crowdsourcing project called The People's History of Pop. So do you remember the first record you bought? The first gig you went to? Well, Rob Whitehouse has been uncovering some very special pop memories.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
There's nothing quite as powerful as a pop memory. The day Led Zeppelin played a free gig at a tiny club on the banks of the River Trent.
The atmosphere was absolutely electric.
The young DJ sacked for refusing to play the Beatles.
I said, I'm not very impressed with them, and I think there are better groups in Nottingham, and they won't last very long.
And the Rolling Stones turn up at a house party in Beeston.
It was great, because I was inside.
Gotta find a woman. We go down to the lake, where all the girls that be swimming.
Author Richard Houghton trawls and treasures memories like this. He's been digging in dusty newspaper archives and scouring the country, collecting fans' close encounters with the Rolling Stones for his latest book.
In 1963 and 1964, they played over 300 shows a year, and they were playing in small towns. The Rolling Stones turned up, set up their equipment, went down the pub for a drink and came back and played. And if you were a fan, you might see them in the pub beforehand, or you might get a chance to have an autograph afterwards, or even if you were of the female persuasion, a snog with Mick Jagger or Keith Richards.
These apparent hitchhikers, so blandly ignored, are 5 of the most famous young men in show business, the Rolling Stones.
One remarkable story unearthed by Richard concerns a Stones tour in 1964. On the 2nd of March, they reached Nottingham. And after a sell-out show at the Albert Hall, pursued by screaming fans, they found themselves invited to a house party in Beeston. And that's where this lady, Ginny Hartman, then aged 15, stepped in.
I was chosen to go to the Albert Hall, to be in the Rolling Stones van to guide them back to this party. And I had to fight my way through this real crowd of screaming girls. I was in the van with 3 of the Rolling Stones. That's my claim to fame.
Now, that's got to be every mother's nightmare, isn't it? In the back of a van,
I don't think my mum even knew.
15 years old, with the most dangerous rock and roll band in the world.
I know, it was great.
Ginny still treasures snaps of the band taken on the night.
There were people actually climbing up the drain pipes to get in because word had got round Beeston that the Rolling Stones were here.
The party went on until the early hours, not before the Stones heard that their latest single, Not Fade Away, had become their first top 10 hit. And for Ginny, the memory of that night has never faded.
I was there.
Keith Atkinson can boast a host of amazing pop encounters at one of the most unlikely star-studded venues, the Nottingham Boat Club. In the early 60s, the club was broke, began booking up-and-coming R&B bands to make some money. They picked well.
Dire Straits, Rod Stewart, Def Leppard, Elton John, Led Zeppelin. We just had no idea what we were dealing with. It was great fun, quite incredible.
Led Zeppelin were booked for just £80, and Keith still has the contract to prove it. And a few years later, the band's Robert Plant made an extraordinary offer.
They contacted us and they said, we want to come back. And by this time, they were a mega group. You know, they were really something.
You need cool air, baby, I'm not...
It was just shoulder to shoulder, and as soon as they came on, they were bouncing up and down and cheering. It's absolutely fantastic. The floorboards were rocking.
They said, you were one of the people that supported us on our way up. Well, now we're here, we'll come back and play a free gig.
We reckon there was well over 500 in here.
There were people trying to clamber over the balcony to get in. There were queues back to Trent Bridge. This was the biggest gig that Nottingham's ever had.
Not everyone in Nottingham was that good at spotting talent. The Beatles first performed in the city at the Elizabethan Ballroom on the 7th of March 1963. The Fab Four were at #1 with their second single, Please Please Me. But one local DJ couldn't understand what all the fuss was about and told the press.
Now, I rubbished the Beatles and said they're nothing very special, and said there were much better groups in Nottingham. I was suspended without pay for not playing a Beatles record, and then I was sacked unceremoniously, and I footed it off to Manchester then, where I became the DJ at the Manchester Plaza Ballroom.
Tony later reviewed that opinion and went on to become a major pop promoter. A surge of interest in pop memorabilia has helped spur a revival in vinyl. This is BPM, Derby's sole surviving independent record shop. Once there were 9 in the city. BPM nearly went under too, but business is now booming.
We've had a cracking year because there's a big interest in vinyl, but we had 10 tough years to get to this cracking year. The Beatles are probably still our best sellers, and in this Beatles section here, we've got Beatles ranging from Hard Day's Night, which is £100, but that's because it's a first pressing and it's in mint condition. When you're looking at record sleeves, it's a life history. You can remember, you know, who you're going out with at that time when that album came out. You can remember where you were and what you were doing at the time the album came out. And I think you've got that far more with vinyl than anything else.
Dave told me I just had to meet one of his customers who's turned his home near Derby into a pop music shrine. Russell Cherrington's house is crammed with pop and rock memorabilia. It started with Kiss when he was 15 years old.
This picture here is me in 1983 going to a Kiss concert. Pretty much kept every gig ticket from everything that I've been to from now, going back through my childhood. Yeah, even in my bedroom there are T-shirts from lots and lots and lots of the gigs I've been to. On here there's probably about 150, and then upstairs in boxes there's probably about 500. Don't list them, I've never counted them, but I'd say there's at least 4,000 albums, maybe more, and there's probably 6,000 to 7,000 CDs. That's a Led Zeppelin Presence album, fully signed by all the band. I guess I'm a music magpie, and I've kept and collected everything.
They say old rockers like Russell never die, they just keep gigging. And Tony Sherwood is living proof of that. He's still on the road, promoting surviving 60s bands like Mike Pender's Searchers.
Whereas at one time we used to talk about throwing televisions out of hotel rooms, now we talk about hip replacements and pension plans. But we still talk. It's great.
Well, that's a blast from the past, and everything sent into the People's History of Pop will help build an online archive, and there'll be a special series on BBC4 later in the year. But that's it from Staunton Herald. Here's what's coming up next week.
Was a suspended Nottingham dentist under pressure to cut corners? We investigate dental contracts.
I think what happened was a time-saving exercise and maybe a cost-saving exercise to try and hit that financial target.